in 1970 in Sydney, Australia, at the Women's Liberation Movement. I was at a Vietnam Moratorium. Kate, she was a mentor of mine. She was a poet and a speechwriter. And in 1970, at the Vietnam Moratorium, she was the only woman permitted to speak that day. Reflecting on the speech, Kate said she wrote it from a place that was a boil. And the speech, it was credited for igniting what was titled the Australian Second Stage Feminism. And Kate wasn't too fond of that title. She thought it sounded like a disease, but it was referring to how the the women's liberation movement in Australia was echoing off of the women's lib movement in the States, the civil rights movement in the States, and the anti-war movement. There's a documentary called Brazen Hussies, which, that's a shaky title, but I myself identify as a brazen hussy. But in the documentary, Kate reflects on giving the speech, and they also interview women who were prominent figures in the movement as well. And you can see on their faces and in their eyes how significant these words were that day, 55 years ago. She was immediately arrested after giving the speech. There's a photograph that's pretty wild. She's like hunched over in these little gladiator sandals, and she's in a sea of these men, officers with these combat boots on, and it just speaks volumes to the moment in time. Kate spent most of her life in Manhattan. She was a proper New York girl. She, unfortunately, Kate passed away in 2021. So she did not live to see Roe overturned, and she did not live to see the fate that is ahead of us right now. After she passed, I performed this speech twice in memoriam to her, never thinking I would perform these words with the significance they need 55 years later. As I said, Kate wrote this speech, and it was from a place of boil. So the words are hot. There's some adult language in this speech. So you brace yourself or buckle up or whatever you need. But and as said earlier today, it is important that we reflect on Martin Luther King Jr. Because we can only move forward if we see what came before us and what's behind us. And so again, with these heated words, it's important to echo MLK's principles of community and nonviolence and love. Hello. Whew. So I just going to take a quick beat. We are on native land to call on the ancestors that came before us. Hooey and Kate Gurley. Calling on you right now, sis. So, without further ado, here is Kate Jennings, the front lawn speech. Watch out! You may meet a real castrating female, or you'll say I'm a man-hating, bra-burning, lesbian member of the castration penis envy brigade, which I am. I would like to speak. I would like to give a tub-thumping, table-banging, emotional rap and be listened to, not laughed at. You don't laugh at what your comrade brothers say. You wouldn't laugh at the Black Panthers. Many women are beginning to feel the necessity to speak for themselves, for their sisters. I feel the necessity now. It is the moratorium. I would say, oh yes, the war is a bad pig boss's war. May the NLF win. I also say victory to the Vietnamese women. Woo! Now, our brothers on the left in the peace movement will think that what I'm about to say is not justified. It is the moratorium. It's justified anywhere. We've heard you loud and clear before, brother shits. We know we have to work towards the revolution and then join the Ladies' Liberation Auxiliary if we have time left over. Well, I've worked my priorities out. I will work towards what I know about and what I feel. And what I feel because I'm told ad infinitum that I'm a woman. I'm a second-class citizen, and I should shut up right now because my mind's between my legs. I say, you think with your pricks. We should all get our priorities straight and organize around our own injustices, our own condition. There are a lot of people here who feel strongly about the Vietnam War. But how many of you who can see so clearly the suffering and misery in Vietnam? How many of you can see at the end of your piggy noses the women who can't get abortions? How many of you would get off of your piggy asses and protest against the killing and victimization of women in your own country? Go check the figures. How many Australian men have died in Vietnam, and how many women have died from backyard abortions? Yes, that's cool. There are only women, and you'll perhaps worry if your own chickie gets pregnant. Can you think of all the unwanted children or the discrimination against unmarried mothers? Illegal, dangerous abortions are going to be performed regardless, so make them legal. And to those women who think an abortion campaign or women's lib for that matter is reformist, I quote, "In fighting for our liberation, we will not ask what is revolutionary or reformist, only what is good for women." Some of us are reformists. Some of us are revolutionaries. Some of us are man-hating crazies. But we're all working towards one thing, the liberation of women. And most of us will recognize that this will only happen in a socialist society. We all feel very strongly about conscription and freedom of the individual. Some go to great lengths to martyr themselves on the issue of the draft. I don't feel very strongly about the ego scenes of the Mike Joneses around me. I do feel strongly about my freedom and my sister's freedom. Women are conscripted every day into the personalized slave kitchens. Can you, with your mind filled with a moratorium, spare a thought for their freedom, identity, minds, and emotions? Their women in your stomach is full. It suits you to keep women in the kitchens and underpaid menial jobs and with the children. You, by your silence, apathy, and laughter, sanction the legislators, the pig parliamentarians, the same men who sanctioned the war in Vietnam. You won't make an issue of abortion, equal pay, or child-minding centers because they're women's matters, and under your veneer, you are brothers to the pig politicians. And I say, to all you high-minded intellectual women who say you're liberated with such force and conviction, I say you make me sick. So women's lib doesn't concern you. Ask your companion what he would prefer, to talk to you or fuck you. And if you prefer to be fucked, you've absorbed your conditioning quite well. And the women in the suburbs are no concern of yours. Your mother is no concern of yours. So long as you think you're liberated, all's well. You and your sisters and the silent suburban women are all a part of a capitalist, patriarchal society which you cannot ignore. And don't start to trust the sympathetic men who want a socialist society. Where will the women go after the revolution? Go. Ask them. The men on the left stink. They stink from their motherfucking socks to their long hair, from their jock straps to their Maryland Moratorium badges. The ones who pretend to espouse our aims are far worse than those who wear their true colors on their sleeves. And to my brothers on the drug scene, grass is good. Oh yes. But instead of becoming happy and peaceful and oh so motherfucking loving, all I can see is you sitting there, asserting, even grooving on your maleness, dominating every joint, every puff. Chickies aren't very good at rapping or clever or subtle enough. I mean, it's a male scene, isn't it? You arrogant farts. Ooh. Okay. I've stopped trying to love and understand my oppressors. I know who my enemy is. I will tell you what I feel as an individual, as a woman. I feel there can be no love between men and women. Maybe after the revolution, people will be able to love each other regardless of skin color, ethnic origin, occupation, or type of genitals. But if that happens, it will only happen if we make it happen. Starting right now, I feel hatred and I feel anger without indulging in an equality or Marxist argument. I say all power to women because that's what I feel. All power! And I say to every woman, but every time you're put down or fucked over, every time they kick you cunningly in the teeth, go stand on the street corner and tell every man that walks by, every one of them a male chauvinist by virtue of his birthright, tell them all to go suck their own cocks. And when they laugh, tell them they're getting bloody defensive. And you know exactly how to start a revolution. All power to women. All power to the people. Healthcare is a human right. Tax the rich. We demand a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your neighbors. We will prevail. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Just give it up one more time for Ryan. So next we have